man, you know it's bad when the characters in the story are like, all right, so what happened again? All right, this is kind of confusing. Okay, so what was the point of this? Like, I'm asking that same shit. What's going on, everybody? GemMint here with today's new comic book day reviews. It's Wednesday, February 2nd, and as always, gonna go through this week's comics as spoiler-free as possible. I think I read like 24 issues this week, but I read most of them digitally. I get the early PDFs, but I still try to buy the books I want to put sets together so we could do Whatnot auctions and such. Speaking of which, I will be on Whatnot later today, 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. I've got amazing Modern Keys, Silver Age and Bronze Age books, some sealed omnibus, and more. Remember, this Friday, we're doing the live claim sale and auction on the channel with Nick Barucci from Dynamite Entertainment. And then Sunday is the Whatnot stream with Davis Ryder. We have that Wolverine statue to give away from Sideshow Collectibles, and we have the exclusive limited edition t-shirt drop. So make sure you tune in. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern over on Whatnot this Sunday. Let's go ahead and start with the indies, and we're going to start with a Dynamite book, actually, with Hell Sonja, issue number 2. I liked issue number 1. Number 2 was more of the same. Great explosive artwork here, especially towards the end. The coloring was amazing, and I like the idea of the multiple Sonjas, the Hell Sonjas, if you will. Even though there is one called Hell Sonja, then there's red, blue, gold, and this multiversal story, them ending up on this planet. I don't want to give too much away. I'm digging this series so far. You could just jump in with number 1 and number 2 out today. All right, from Image, we have New Masters, issue number 1 by Shobo and Shof. I really wanted to like this because the art is amazing. The art is really polished, and it has like a polished, detailed Disney animated movie type of vibe, and the story even felt like that a little bit too, up until a certain point. I just couldn't get into it, man. I didn't finish it. This girl, she's got this like robot arm or whatever. I wanted to like it, but I couldn't even finish the issue. All right, next on we have the Nita Hall's Nightmare blog. This is issue 4 by Rodney Barnes, Jason, Sean Alexander, Patrick Reynolds, and Lewis NCT. I've been digging this series since the jump. I love this blues musician player who's possessed by this demon, and it's full-blown Resident Evil type stuff going on in here. Really digging this series. It's got like a real, this issue specifically, 90s Spawn Image vibe to it. That's really gritty. The paneling and the framing looks really great. Digging the series, like I said. Then we got one from Boom here by Cullen Bunn, Jonas Scarf, Alex Gumarez. We have Basilisk, issue 7. I can't believe I said that right on the first time. Continuing to be a great series as well. It feels a little slow because it must be coming out once a month, but basically the human with her kind of powered, godlike companion is going to hunt down the rest of these terrible gods that, like I said, treat people terribly and have no regard for human life. Pretty cool. That shotgun on the cover comes into play in the issue. I don't want to give it away, but it's violent and it's exciting and it's heart pounding. It's a great series, man. Basilisk, Colin Bunn. All right, then Chip Zdarsky, he's joined by Jacob Phillips on Newburn, issue number 3. This is a good noir detective type story. I had to go back and even look to see what it was about, and honestly, the issue is pretty forgettable, but I do like the color palette. I do like Zdarsky's writing. It is fluid, but just the main story, I mean, it's still just this guy who is kind of neutral within the mob wars, trying to figure out who killed who done it, picks up an unlikely ally. Nothing really progressed much, it felt like, in this issue, but I remember enjoying it. Then we got Nocterra, issue 7, Scott Snyder, Tony S. Daniel, and Marcelo Mayolo. So this is basically the first issue of the new arc. I don't want to say it's a good jumping on point because it's still really, I mean, I know who the characters are, but I don't really have an attachment to the characters. I don't really care. I kind of like the main character on the front. Then she's got her younger brother who kind of survives or does survive so far, seemingly becoming a shade. They actually have a great little explanation on how the shades evolve, and basically they eat them as roadkill, and how they have these funny names for these hybrid species. So that was pretty cool. The artwork is great in this book as well, but even like with the villain, it's kind of like, I don't really care. Yeah, he seems powerful, but like, I don't care. All right, then we have Donny Cates, Jeff Shaw, Dee Kunifi, and John J. Hill with Crossover issue 11. I like Crossover because I'm a fan of the comic book industry and the writers and the artists, and this is the most meta comic book out there, maybe ever. Donny Cates is in the book. He wrote himself in the book, giving himself an origin as when he first came out of the Sphere, and now he's kind of like Alan Moore out a little bit. But it's a great series. If you're a fan of comic books, you'll be a fan of crossover. And then lastly from Image, we have Spawn. We're on issue 326. Todd McFarlane, Carlo Barberi. And this was basically a Spawn versus Haunt issue. Now, I tried to get into Haunt I don't think it was when he first came out. I think after a while, I tried to go back and get into it. I couldn't really get into it, and I guess I can see why the series stopped, right? I haven't heard of Haunt in a long time. So this is kind of like a versus that leads to a team up against a common enemy here. But great fun artwork. Kind of cool to see these characters interact. Then moving on over to Marvel, we have Fantastic Four Reckoning War, issue 1. This is by Dan Slott. He's joined by Pacheco, Mongo, and Guru EFX. So I'm not reading Dan Slott's Fantastic Four, and I felt like I suffered a little bit getting into this. It's got some cool potential. You have the Watcher. All of the Watchers are now going to gather up together to finally intervene. This is the one thing that's important. Big, huge event here. I don't know if that's going to be reversed or not. If what happens in Reckoning War 1 doesn't get reversed somehow, then from here on out, the Earth is missing a very needed companion, let's just say. I'm going to stick with it and try to piece the pieces together that I didn't read in Slott's Fantastic Four run, but it felt like, your traditional type of Marvel event. It's got potential, though. All right, then we have Savage Spider-Man issue 1 by Kelly, Sandoval, Nava, and Sotomayor. This has to be the same creative team that did that nonstop Spider-Man, right? The art was very similar to it with the askew panels and everything, but that, instead of a super fast breakneck speed Spider-Man, it's Man-Spider, and it was very well drawn. It felt like McFarlane stuff, man. It felt like I was reading 90s McFarlane stuff with this Man-Spider, just the detail and everything, and then with the slanted panels, it worked more for me on this book than it did nonstop Spider-Man. So if you just want a dumb, fun Spider-Man book that doesn't really tie into anything, you could pick that up. All right, moving on to Shang-Chi, issue number 8. This one's by Jean Louis Yang, Dyke Ruin, and Triona Farrell. So starting with the last issue, it kind of broke off of needing that support character from Marvel to be interesting. It's been on its own, and this is a family dynamic. And I feel like I said this with the last issue, which was the beginning of this arc. You feel like you know them from the movie. Like, honestly, I'm not a big Shang-Chi reader. I haven't read a lot of his stuff, but I feel like I know the mother character, the father character, the grandfather, her dimension of, I don't remember the name. And I like this. In this book so far, the entire time has flowed really well. It doesn't ever feel daunting. It doesn't ever feel like it's too much dialogue or anything. It just feels like it has the perfect amount that just flows through the comic, and I'm interested to see what happens. I'm sticking with it. Moving on over to Fantastic Four Life Story, issue 6, the 2010s by Mark Russell, Sean Isaacs, Carlos Mango, and Nolan Woodard. I'm pretty sure this is the last issue, and I gotta say, man, it felt a little anticlimactic. We already have gone through the Galactus threat. I feel like that should have been saved for the end here. As the cover suggests, basically it's the last bout against Doom. Kind of sad how they portray Reed Richards here. Just our hero's getting old. It didn't make me feel sad like when I read that Batman Catwoman special last week. It made me feel a little bit more like, I don't know, it was more pity than feeling sad. I didn't really like the ending. All right, then we have X-Men Legends, issue 11. This is a throwback vibe. Louise Simonson, Walter Simonson, Edgar Delgado. This is a New Mutant story, which includes the Marauders and includes the Horsemen of Apocalypse, with some Apocalypse stuff in here. It feels like it was plucked right out of that era. This is a new original story that takes place in, what is that, the late 80s X-Factor era or New Mutants era. So if you're into that, this is going to feel like a lost chapter. It's kind of like X-Men Classics, but instead of adding a couple pages, it's a whole story within what happened back in the day, with the art and dialogue feeling very similar. So, if you're into that, this book's for you. All right, then we have Sabretooth #1 by Lavalle, Kirk, and Barreto. So I didn't know what to expect here. I didn't expect much, but I'll tell you what they got here. Something I talked about with Rockin' Robbie over on his channel the other day. We did a live stream for the monthly comic book wrap-up, and we talked about Hickman creating threads that other writers could choose to pick up or not pick up and continue a story. Because I was like, whatever happened with those futuristic mutants that you could combine powers to make new characters, and then you had that character, the female, who I thought was going to be more popular, Rasputin 5 or something like that. So somebody could, make that story still, just like Sabretooth. He was banished way back in the day, in the early days of Krakoa, the first and only mutant to ever be exiled by the Quiet Council. So what happened? What's been going on? Well, he's been living like the 10 deaths of Moira McTaggart in his mind and having all these teams and relationships, and he's in this prison within his mind, kind of like what prison is supposed to do. It seems like it's even reforming him a little bit. The cover doesn't suggest that, so it's making me second guess myself, because I did read this a couple of days ago, but I feel like he was learning lessons in these relationships and team ups and going through missions and such in his mind. It was interesting, and again, cool to see someone pick up that thread and continue that story where Hickman left off. All right, then we have Alien issue 9, Philip Kennedy Johnson, Salvador La Roca, Guru EFX. I love this series. It feels like there must have been a delay. Issue 8 could not have come out just 30 days ago, so we're still on that new planet. That religious type of crew was able to terraform it. The leader has cancer. She chose to stay there and retain the rights rather than go back to Earth to save herself. And now we're in the middle of a full-blown, the climax of the Alien movie, where the aliens are everywhere and we see who betrayed them and what their purpose was on this planet. The artwork is okay on the inside. It's like you see these aliens and it looks a little non-threatening in some panels. A little cartoonish, if you will, but otherwise, I like the suspense and the pace of these issues, and the whole series in general has been great. Moving on to Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, issue number 2 by Zdarsky, De La Torre, and Blee. So basically just Zdarsky continuing the Daredevil run with Elektra over here, and I guess he's going back to Daredevil again after Devil's Reign, but this feels like what we've been getting out of Elektra, out of her portraying Daredevil throughout Zdarsky's run. Her relationship with Matt Murdock and kind of going deeper and from her perspective is interesting. And then this is essentially Elektra as Daredevil versus Kraven storyline tying into Devil's Reign. This is still that same place where Wilson Fisk has the Thunderbolts that are going after vigilantes. So overall, great vintage Chip Zdarsky Daredevil stuff. I'm just realizing that I didn't read the 10 Lives of Wolverine issue 2, so I'm going to have to read that and include that in next week's video. All right, guys, so let's end Marvel with The Amazing Spider-Man issue 88. We have Wells, Dowling, and Valenza. All hail the Queen Goblin. So I kind of dug this issue, man. This is kind of showing the Beyond Corporation's true colors and how if they're harboring and aiding and abetting heroes like Ben Reilly's Spider-Man, couldn't they also be doing that with villains? Couldn't they be creating scenarios within themselves, similar to like when I was reading the Superman Death and Return of Superman omnibus? So this has the Queen Goblin. I like how they're tying it into that Sin Eater story recently, that I guess they injected this woman with the sins from Norman Osborn that Sin Eater ejected. So that was interesting, but I don't think we still know who she is. So first appearance of Queen Goblin, but not yet revealed. First cameo. She's on the cover. Has she been in the story before? All right, guys, moving on over to DC. We have The Joker, A Puzzle Box, issue 7. I think it's finally over. Rosenberg, Marino, Norton, Cifuentes, Stevens, and Areola. Man, it's bad when the characters in the story are like, all right, so what happened again? All right, this is kind of confusing. Okay, so what was the point of this? Like, I'm asking that same shit. This was not a good series, guys. This was supposed to be clever like a Killing Joke, I think, in the sense that what is the Joker up to? We got teased in the beginning that the Riddler said that we're both the same, except for jokes are just riddles for dumb people. So this is the Joker getting back at the Riddler. Don't waste your time. All right, guys, moving on over to Detective Comics, issue 1051 by Tamaki, Raynor, and Guerrero. So I missed 1050 and my shop still hasn't gotten it in. He's getting it in next week or something. I read this. I felt a little lost. Psycho Pirates here. That seems new. I guess Nightwing is undercover in this new Arkham Asylum and they have serial killers on the loose here. That was pretty cool, but I did like the backup story, The House of Gotham by Rosenberg, Blanco, and Belair. So this was all about like the Penguin recruiting a young kid from Arkham and making him like his ward and putting him to work like straight Henry Hill from Goodfellas style. I dug it. All right, then we have Batman here with issue 120 with Williamson, Jorge Molina, Jonin, Benedito, and Mori. Jorge Molina on the cover art as well. Amazing art on the interior. I'm a big fan of him. I'm not a big fan of Batman Inc., but I like the twist here with this. Is it Asylum? Is that the name of the character? Abyss, not Asylum. So pretty cool stuff with Lex Luthor here and Batman Inc., kind of like a twist here. But again, the artwork, completely amazing. That painted style by Jorge Molina, love it. All right, guys, and now on to the pick of the week. Every time this book has come out, I think it's got pick of the week. Dark Knights of Steel, issue 4 out of 12, Tom Taylor, Bengal Prianto. Love this. The origin of Superman's parents and how they lived here and how Bruce Wayne became the bastard son of Superman's father, Jor-El. Thought that was amazing. I love the villain character that was created here. I thought that was so awesome. This is like a DC Marvel amalgam type of story, but just DC. I don't want to give away. I think that's a spoiler. I think that's awesome, but the origin of how Bruce Wayne was born, what transpired, and kind of the origin of Superman in that sense too, with his parents and how they came from Krypton, but they survived. So differences from the regular canon. It's just the most intriguing, the most out there book this week. It's kind of like what Donny Cates does for Marvel books is what Tom Taylor's doing for Dark Knights of Steel. So those are this week's new comics. Hopefully I didn't spoil anything too much. Let me know what your favorites were in the comments down below. Make sure to catch me on Whatnot later today. Live claim sale and auction on Friday on YouTube. And back over to Whatnot on Sunday. You could win a brand new Sideshow Wolverine premium format. We got a limited edition t-shirt drop. Plus we're auctioning X-Men and Wolverine key issues. Thanks for watching. Stay minty fresh. Peace.